Hey guys, it's Savvy. I just moved, so I'm gonna be kind of quiet. My roommate's out of town, I think. I don't know how much my downstairs neighbors can hear. I'm gonna show you the state of my bedroom real fast. So there's my tuba, there's a bunch of junk on my floor. And then look at all those boxes. They're all empty, but they're all still here. So I'm sitting on my bed. You guys are kind of gonna be at a weird angle, I feel like. But this is just how it's gonna have to be for now. Okay, so today is day 13 of the StrikeBackVideoAthon challenge. I'd like to apologize for missing the last 2 days. I was moving, so on Friday I was literally like packing everything up, and then and then yesterday I was moving all my things into my house, and I'm trying to put everything away quickly, and then you put everything away, and then you can reorganize and figure out what you have to do. But I thought I'd do the quick reads real fast. I tried to grab as many of my books as I could. There's a few in the hallway, there's a stack in the closet. I always do my bookshelf last because it's my favorite, but I think I might need to just put everything away on the bookshelf and then I'll know. I don't know, and I have another shelf up here that I need to put up. I got a lot of stuff to do. I think I can have it done by, I'll give myself till tomorrow, but I think I can have it done by today. Okay, so let's get started. My first pick is the Mistborn trilogy. They're thick books, but they go really, really fast. Eve the Awakening I just finished. I thought that was a fairly quick read. And then The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. If you haven't read, you can read The Name of the Wind. Like, you don't have to read both books, but if you haven't read The Name of the Wind, you might not like it, but you might still like it. I think I would have still liked it, even if I didn't know who Ari is. But it is part of the King Killer Chronicle universe. Okay, so next we have something, it is a little heteronormative, but it's the Modern Girl's Guide to Life. It really is very useful. It teaches you how to fix flat tire, some easy recipes that are sure to please. It explains sports to you just in case you're like going on a date or you have a work event at a sports game. You can know how the points work, which I am not a sport person, so I love it. That's very useful for me. Hot hair tricks, makeup for busy chicks. It's just really useful. It's something that I got when I graduated high school. So that was a very nice gift. The next is similar. It's the Daring Book for Girls. This one is kind of like the girl version of that, where it's just really fun. It teaches you how to tie knots. It teaches you how to make a flower crown. It teaches you about female pirates, like historical female pirates. One of these days, I'm going to write the most epic historical fantasy or historical fiction, whichever one, about female pirates, and it's going to be bomb. It just has so many cool things. I don't think I've ever read it cover to cover, but it's something that I definitely pick up. Oh, they also teach you how to do sun salutations from yoga, which is really fun. The next 3 books are just really easy little, they are nonfiction. They look like they'd be fake, but they're actually really well-researched nonfiction, and that's Werewolves, Witches, and Vampires. They're incredibly short, incredibly interesting to read. Vampires is my favorite one. Part of it is historically accurate, so they do talk about witches and werewolves getting, people would say, oh, they're a witch or a werewolf, and then they get killed. And I had a hard time reading that, but with vampires, the people are already dead, and they're just like messing with their body. Of course, I don't condone messing with a dead person's body, but if you have to choose between a living and a dead person to eat their heart, I'm going to choose the dead person, So that's that, which is very cool. And then we have James Herriot, All Things Bright and Beautiful. This is a memoir of a vet in the Yorkshire, and it's just beautiful and amazing, and it's something that I don't think I have on my Goodreads as read, but boy, do I love James Herriot's books. They're just like a little hug. They feel like home. So maybe I should put that on my Goodreads and give it a good grade. And then I have Ain't I a Woman? It's an anthology of women's poetry from around the world. And then it has, what's really cool is it has a little blurb about the poet in the back. And then it also has a little blurb about who translated the work, if it's translated, which I loved. It's nice and short, and the mixture of poems. This is the best poetry anthology I've ever read. This is the second best poetry anthology I've ever read. And She Walks in Beauty, once again. It's more about women. There are some male poets in this, which is really cool, but at the beginning, it goes through like stages of like falling in love, breaking up, marriage, sex, having kids, and there's the woman who edited it or selected it, the poems, writes a little essay at the beginning of each one, and I loved that. I thought it was so, so good. Really well done. And next we have Discworld by Terry Pratchett. I think I talk about these a lot. That's because they're wonderful and they're super quick. I love getting the audiobooks when I'm going on a road trip, because if you miss, 5 minutes here and there, it's not really, A, you can rewind it, and B, it's not totally going to ruin it, although then if you do rewind it, you're like, man, that was so funny. I can't believe I wasn't paying attention. Maybe it does ruin it, but I love these for road trips because they're kind of outrageous. So they're interesting enough that you pay attention, but it never distracts me to the point where I'm about to crash my car. I have laughed before though, and sometimes laughing is kind of hard when you're driving. And then we have Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I love this book. I'm going to be rereading it now that I live in the Bay Area, and there are a lot of homeless, just in California in general. But I love this book. Then we have The Bloody Chamber. It's a collection of short stories. They're retold fairy tales. They are so good. And they kind of have feminist twists. These were written in the 60s, I believe. So it's like an interesting, I don't think it's like what we would consider feminist today. I mean, they are feminist, but it's just an interesting one. I just got a text. Next, we have more poetry, Billy Collins' 9 Horses. If you don't like poetry, I would recommend Billy Collins, but you want to read it. I love his poetry. I think it's amazing. It's so good. It's just so good. You Come To by Robert Frost. He's also somebody I would really recommend starting with. I love Robert Frost. Next, we have a very short introduction. This series, there's a very short introduction of just about anything you can think of. I have Islam and the Quran. Because I want to just learn more about the Islamic faith. I feel like a lot of times people say things that are very racist, and I want to be able to be like, hey, that's not true, like, because, and I think too, like growing up, like I grew up Christian, and you see all these people like, oh, well, I'm a Christian, so blah, blah, and it's like, that's not nice. Like, I don't agree with what that person does. And so I think I have an easier understanding of, one, extremists or one sect of religion doesn't necessarily mean that everybody thinks that. And so I just want to be able to be like, actually, the Quran says blah, 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 blah. And I also need to learn how to do that with the Bible, where like if somebody's like spewing stuff, I can be like, actually, blankety blank, because I do have. I just need to learn more about. I love religion. It's an interesting study. Okay, sorry about that. Next, we have Love That Dog. This is such an amazing book. It's such a quick read. It's definitely something. I mean, you could probably read it in an hour. It's so good. You do need some tissues when you read it. It's really good though. Okay. Oh, and then we have The Best Guide to Eastern Philosophy and Religion. It's just, once again, I just really, really think religion is interesting. This guide is so quick, so easy, and so wonderful. I haven't read it in years, like since before college. I need to read it again. Next, we have The Language of Thorns. It's just a beautiful, I mean, let me just show some, look at that. That's like not even there are big illustrations at the end of each story. I really, really loved this book. I'm so glad I got it. Next, we have Diary of a Madman and Other Stories. The short stories of Nikolai Gogol are incredibly fast, incredibly interesting. I really love Russian literature, like Russian classics. He was the first guy I read of those. I think I've had this book since I was like 11 or 12, and I just loved it. Next, we have Silas Marner. If you want to read more classics, but you're a little bit nervous to get into classics, Cold Comfort Farm is a classic, and I'd recommend that. This is also by George Eliot, she's a woman, this was a pen name, prolific, popular writer. She's amazing, and Silas Marner is one of my favorite books. It's so good. I need to reread it. It's just, I love it so much, and it's really easy read. Oh, and what I'm getting at is it's a classic, but it's very quick, very easy, and very interesting, and just, just a very good book. And and so I would really recommend it to anybody who's maybe a little bit scared to get into the classics. Maybe you've read some really intense ones in the past in school or whatever, and you're like, I don't know, this is your guy, and it's nice and short. Okay. And then we have the Grimm fairy tales, of course. I love fairy tales. My favorite is Bearskin. I love it. And then we have The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories. These are so funny. They're like creepy little tales by Tim Burton. I'd really recommend them. They're really good. Okay, this angle is terrible. And then we have 20 Fragrances of Ravenous Youth. Such a quick read. I mean, and it's just so good. I would really, really recommend this to anybody in there. Anybody should read this. This is really good, and I'm going to be reading her other works for sure. Yeah, really good. Next we have a few Neil Gaiman books. The first is Fragile Things. This is the collection of short stories. I don't necessarily love all the short stories in this. I think this has my favorite one. Sorry, one sec. Let me just look. I can't remember if it's this one. I kind of just grabbed. Yes, Sunbird is my favorite one of his short stories. Sunbird and October in the Chair. October in the Chair, I think, is in Smoke and Mirrors. Both the stories are in M is for Magic, which is my favorite collection of his short stories. It's ones that are better for like kids. I don't like Troll Bridge in that collection, but other than that, I like them all. There's also a really wonderful, I think it's in this one, maybe it's in Smoke and Mirrors, but it's about the Holy Grail, and this old woman accidentally buys it, and one of the knights from the round table keeps like coming to her house, and it's like he like travels through time. It makes sense in the story, and it's really, really wonderful. Okay, and next we have Celtic Tales. I love this book. I really like Celtic fairy tales. I wasn't that well versed, and then I got this as a gift from one of my friends, which was really nice. This is my favorite picture in it. Just all the little selkies. And I think Scottish selkies have a little bit less of a dark, like, I'm really familiar with the Icelandic selkie, which is a little bit darker, a little bit more intense, and the Scottish, Irish, the Celtic ones are a little bit less sad to read about, which is nice. But I would really recommend this. There's also stories from the country Brittany, which, if you don't know, Charlie, my dog Charlie, not Sam, the other one, the brown and white one, her breed is Brittany. That's what they're called, and they're from that region of the world. So whenever I see anything that's like from Brittany, I'm like, oh, it's just like Charlie, and I love it. So I love that book. It's also just genuinely good. And then after that, I have Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book. This is middle grade, but it's so good. And if you don't like fantasy, I would still really recommend it. My mom didn't really like fantasy, and she loved this book. And there's some pictures in it, which is really fun. Let's see if we can find a really nice one. But it's just so good. I love this one. Sorry. And it's something that I will reread a lot. Like, and it's something, like, I can just blow through it. It doesn't really affect, because, so on my Goodreads, what I love about all these books is that on my Goodreads, I don't put that I reread books. I don't reread them on Goodreads. Because when I say, hey, I want to read 36 books in a year, I want to read 36 new books or more. Obviously, I want to read all the new books, but so when I reread, I tend to gravitate towards the things that I can read in, 3 nights, and they just feel like a good friend. And I would really recommend all of these books. They're all so amazing, quick reads, really interesting. I hope there's a good mix in there for you guys. I'm gonna go unpack more. Wish me luck, please. I get overstimulated really easily, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling overstimulated. All right, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, week, month, year, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hopefully at a better angle.